The Battle of Stalingrad, which lasted from August 1942 to February 1943, was a major turning point in World War II and is considered one of the bloodiest battles in human history. Here's how it became the bloodiest battleground in World War II and left the Axis powers decimated. In June 1942, German forces led by General Friedrich Paulus launched a campaign to capture the city of Stalingrad, now Volgograd, a strategic industrial and communication hub in southern Russia. The city was named after Joseph Stalin, the Soviet leader, and its capture would have given the Germans control over the Volga River, a vital transportation route, and access to the oil fields of the Caucasus region. Initial German advances. The German Sixth Army, with over 300,000 soldiers, advanced rapidly towards Stalingrad, pushing the Soviet forces back. By August 1942, the Germans had reached the outskirts of the city, and the Soviet defenders were struggling to hold their ground. Soviet resistance. However, the Soviet forces, led by General Georgy Zhukov, were determined to defend the city at all costs. They employed a scorched earth policy, destroying everything that could be of use to the Germans, and established a network of defensive positions including trenches, bunkers, and sniper nests. Urban warfare. As the Germans entered the city, they faced fierce resistance from the Soviet soldiers, who were fighting house to house, block by block. The city became a battleground with both sides suffering heavy casualties. The Germans were unprepared for the intensity of urban warfare, and their advances were slowed down by the Soviet defenders. Soviet counterattack. In November 1942, the Soviet forces launched a counterattack, codenamed Operation Uranus, which aimed to encircle the German Sixth Army and cut off their supply lines. The Soviet forces, led by General Zhukov, launched a pincer movement, attacking the German flanks and rear, and successfully encircled the city. German encirclement. The German Sixth Army was trapped, with no way to escape or receive supplies. The Soviet forces continued to tighten the noose, and the Germans were forced to fight in a desperate bid to break out. However, the Soviet defenses were too strong, and the Germans were unable to escape. Surrender and aftermath. On January 31, 1943, the German Sixth Army, now reduced to just 91,000 soldiers, was forced to surrender. The battle had lasted for 209 days, and the casualties were staggering. German losses: over 300,000 soldiers killed, wounded, or captured. Soviet losses: estimated 800,000 to 1.8 million soldiers killed, wounded, or missing. The Battle of Stalingrad was a catastrophic defeat for the Axis powers, marking a major turning point in the war on the Eastern Front. The Soviet victory gave them the initiative, and they began to push the Germans back, eventually liberating their territory and advancing into Eastern Europe. Why Stalingrad was the bloodiest battleground. 1. Urban warfare. The battle was fought in a densely populated city, with both sides using every available building, street, and alleyway as a battleground. 1. Encirclement. The Soviet counterattack trapped the German Sixth Army, leading to a desperate and bloody fight for survival. 1. Scorched earth policy. The Soviet defenders destroyed everything that could be of use to the Germans, forcing them to fight in a barren and hostile environment. 1. Fierce resistance. The Soviet soldiers fought with determination and bravery, employing every tactic imaginable to hold back the German advances. The Battle of Stalingrad was a brutal and devastating conflict that left both sides severely depleted. However, the Soviet victory marked a significant turning point in the war, and it ultimately contributed to the defeat of the Axis powers. The Battle of Stalingrad marked a significant turning point in World War II, as it thwarted Germany's advance into the Soviet Union and shifted the momentum in favor of the Allies. Here's how the battle impacted the war and the military assets used. Impact of the Battle of Stalingrad on World War II. Turning the tide. The Soviet victory at Stalingrad halted the German army's eastward advance, marking a crucial shift in momentum on the Eastern Front. Heavy casualties. Germany suffered heavy losses, with estimates suggesting over 300,000 casualties, which weakened their military capabilities. Soviet momentum. The victory boosted Soviet morale and allowed them to launch counterattacks, eventually pushing the Germans back. Military firepower and assets used in the Battle of Stalingrad. Tanks. The T-34, the Soviet Union ST-34 tank, played a crucial role in the battle, with its reliable engine, fast firepower, and thin armor. The Panzer III and Panzer IV, Germany's Panzer tanks, were also heavily involved, but their numbers and firepower were eventually outmatched by the Soviet tanks. Artillery weapons used. The howitzers. Both sides used howitzers, such as the Soviet 122 mm M30 and German 10.5 cm FH-18, to provide indirect fire support. Katyusha rockets. The Soviet Union's Katyusha rocket launchers were used to devastating effect, laying down a relentless barrage of explosives and mortar fire. Aircraft used. The Luftwaffe. Stuka bombers. The German Stuka dive bombers provided close air support, targeting Soviet tanks and positions. Soviet fighter bombers. The Soviet Air Force used fighter bombers to attack German positions and provide air support to Soviet ground troops. Machine guns. The MG-42 machine gun was a vital tool for German infantrymen, providing effective suppressive fire. Submachine guns. German submachine guns like the Schmeisser were used for close-quarters combat. Rifles. The Mosin Nagant rifle was a staple of Soviet infantry forces, offering high accuracy and reliability. Significance of the battle. Stalingrad's strategic importance. The city was a crucial industrial center, producing tanks and artillery, and controlling access to the Volga River. German overextension. Germany's failure at Stalingrad marked the beginning of their decline on the Eastern Front, as they struggled to recover from the heavy losses. Soviet resilience. The Soviet Union's determination and resilience in the face of overwhelming odds ultimately led to their victory, marking a significant shift in the war's momentum.